Hello, and welcome to the Fade Route NFL podcast. We are going to talk about Week 12. We have Thursday Night Football, which it was a couple days ago now. I don't know how much we remember of that game. We have the 1 p.m. window, the 4 p.m. window, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. We'll talk croutons, sink or swim, 3 for the money, and a random fact. But before I do anything else, I'm going to welcome in the mayor. Mayor, how are you?
I do remember the Thursday night game. I remember picking incorrectly. I remember the Buffalo Bills basically punting on the season. They don't look like the same team as they did a few weeks ago. They can still score a hell of a lot of points, but that defense is almost as bad as the Cowboys' defense. So they're going to have to go on a scoring fest, and Josh Allen may have to start throwing the ball to himself, but that's what they'll have to do to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, like a Philly special to himself kind of thing. Yeah, I agree. We can talk about that game a little bit more if we need to. But before I do the random fact, we were talking before the pod about my current job. I'm working with AI, and I fed the AI some audio from this podcast, and I sent this to the mayor a while ago, but I wanted to read it on the podcast. It's eerily accurate. The podcast appears to be an engaging and lively discussion centered around the NFL, blending traditional sports commentary with quirky segments. The hosts dive into typical football topics like game analysis, betting tips, and performance predictions with segments such as Sink or Swim and Scratch and Sniff. The reference to croutons suggests an inside joke or unique segment title that adds a personal touch to the show. The energetic introduction and the interaction with the mayor hint at a casual, camaraderie-filled atmosphere, likely appealing to fans who enjoy both the statistic and entertainment side of football. Mentioning week 3 of the NFL season and the balance between 2-0 and 0-2 teams indicates their current and timely, catering to dedicated followers who keep up with weekly developments. That's you guys. Additionally, the infusion of a random fact suggests they aim to educate and surprise the audience, enriching the listener's experience beyond just game predictions. Overall, it's a podcast for football enthusiasts who appreciate the insightful analysis and lighthearted banter.
Yeah, that is wild that AI came up with all of that. And the only thing it doesn't really suggest is the sarcastic level that it can reach sometimes.
Well, here's the thing. That is not from listening to an entire episode. That I only gave it like the intro music and the introduction. So
Wow.
it gathered all that information just in like 30 seconds.
Huh.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is absolutely insane. For anyone that has not listened to our podcast, that would describe it.
Yeah, I might put that in the show description. All right. But that is not the random fact, though. We need to get to the random fact. So, animals experience time differently than us. For example, lizards experience time more slowly because time depends on the speed that your brain processes information. Does that make lizards more quick thinking and therefore actually smarter than us?
No.
Didn't even give it a thought. All right. I mean, what?
Maybe when they were dinosaurs, they weren't even smarter than us then, but they were just able to eat us if we had existed.
Yeah, they did have that advantage. All right. The bye teams this week, are Denver, the LA Chargers, Miami, and Washington. There are 2 fewer games than this week. We do not have a game overseas this week, so we were talking Thursday Night Football. The upset, Houston was +6 at home. They beat Buffalo at home there. They were home dog. So anything else on that game? I mean, Houston's defense is just incredible, and Buffalo now looks like they're headed the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's awful that we're talking about Buffalo being at 7 and they're not even in first place because New England just came out of nowhere. More on that later, but Buffalo seems like they're just not the same team. And the Texans, if their defense can keep them in games, the offense may be able to figure it out. And, maybe they've got a little bit easier road to the playoffs at the moment with their upcoming schedule. They were on the downs last year. So they got the Raiders and the Cardinals left on their schedule still. They do got to play the Colts twice, so that might hurt a little bit. But maybe it'll get them, prepare them to see how well they really do against probably one of the best teams in the league.
And the fact that they're doing this again with Davis Mills at quarterback just is also impressive because he should actually, I mean, the way he's playing, he probably should start for another team. But I think he's probably happy that he's on Houston because they're actually pretty good. All right, let's move on. The 1 p.m. window starts with the big game. This is the Nance Romo game. I'm sure Indianapolis at Kansas City. Kansas City favored by 3 at home, and the over-under is 50 points. This probably is the game of the week, depending on how you feel about some of the other teams. But do you have any thoughts on Indy at KC?
Yeah, it could very well be the game of the week. I don't know why it didn't get flexed into Sunday night. I'm not really sure about that. Haven't really given it any thought either. But I'm surprised they even scheduled this game for 1 o'clock. 6 months ago. I guess they really thought Indy was going to be terrible and KC was going to be great. Maybe they got it backwards. Indy's KC is favored. I'm not sure. Maybe that's just Vegas protecting their own, but I don't understand that. I think Indy's going to win.
Yeah, I guess that it's just that KC, even in the afternoon, has a home field advantage with that crowd, but at that stadium. But yeah, I am not touching that game. But I think it's going to be everybody's game of the week, pretty much, and that will end at like 4 o'clock. All right, and then the Giants are at Detroit. Detroit's favored. They were favored by 10. I think that's gone up to like 12 or 13 now. And the over under is 50.5. I looked up the stats. Dan Campbell after a loss is like 25-12, and I don't see how the Giants stop them in Detroit. That's the real home field advantage, if you ask me. They're a different team at home, so I think this is going to be a blowout. But I don't really like taking double digits, so I'm not going to touch it.
You should ask AI very quickly what the Giants' record is after firing their head coach. But it's probably like 0-12 because how many head coaches have they now fired mid-season?
Well, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so hard to say. 50.5 and 12.5. Blowout City, 30 to
Yeah.
15, something like that. 30 to 16. Yeah, Detroit's gonna blow the doors off of New York and prepare for another home game in 4 days.
Well, if it's 41-10 or something like that, the minus 12 or whatever it's at should be easy to cover. But I guess we'll see in croutons. New England's at Cincinnati. Cincinnati getting 5-6. Let me start over. New England is at Cincinnati plus 6.5 at home. The over under is 50.5. They are another home dog this week. I don't give them a great chance of winning. They don't have Jamar Chase. He is suspended. So, and I'm not sure. There's rumors that Joe Burrow is going to play. He's been practicing, and I don't know how much of a difference that makes with how terrible that defense is. But you have any? And why would they bring him back before Thanksgiving? I don't understand why that. I mean, that team is not making the playoffs. You have any thoughts on any of that?
I thought I read or heard earlier that he is not going to play Sunday, but he might play Thursday, which makes absolute zero sense because, I guess for his sake, he's already rested, so maybe bringing in a fresh quarterback after 4 days will help you get to 5-8 on the season or 4-8 on the season because they're losing this weekend to New England, and 7.5 isn't going to be enough. Maybe people going to this game are going to be able to get to the game for cheap and be able to see an NFL game finally. It's just too bad the home team's going to get blown out.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna put on my conspiracy hat for a second, maybe the NFL like whispered into the Cincinnati organization's ear and said, "Hey, why don't we save Burrow for the Thursday game on Thanksgiving week?" Anyway, I don't know if that's true. I'm just not sure. So anybody at the NFL can fill us in on that if they want to. Minnesota is at Green Bay. Green Bay minus 6 at home. The over under is 41. Minnesota just like not a good team, but just like Green Bay is not playing well enough for me to trust them. So, you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, Green Bay needs to win this to stay in the playoff race out of the, bottom of the bottom of the basket. They're already chasing Detroit, so they need to get a win. And Minnesota is going to be pretty much now if they lose another, 2 or 3 games, with 7 left, that's bad news for them. 10-7 is probably going to be that mark, probably across the board, give or take. But if you already got 6 losses on the season and there's 7 games left, you've got to get a sense of urgency and can't lose again. And that's going to be tough for them to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of Green Bay. I would say like they usually have that home field advantage, but they lost to the who did they lose to at home? The Browns.
Yeah.
So that Lambeau mystique, I guess that's been gone for a while. But yeah, I don't trust them. The Jets are at the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, the last I saw, were favored 13.5 at home. The over-under was 44. I don't know if that line has moved or not, but not expecting big things out of the Jets. I think Tyrod Taylor's playing this week, though, so maybe they'll show a little bit of life over the other than the last few weeks when we saw nothing out of them. You have any thoughts on New York Jets at Baltimore?
The Jets are terrible. We know that. Breaking news. There it is. You've heard it here first. No thoughts whatsoever. This game is going to go exactly how everybody thinks it is.
I put Baltimore on upset alert then at this point. Seattle's at Tennessee. Tennessee plus 13 at home. The over-under is 40.5. I don't even see how it gets to 40.5. Do you think Tennessee scores more than 6 points?
Yes, I hope they do, but I don't think they will. The Seahawks, hopefully that West Coast travel to East Coast is going to affect them in some dirty way. Maybe they'll get disqualified for cheating or something like that. The 49ers really aren't behind the Seahawks in the race for the West, because they played them once, they play them again. The Rams are running with that division so far, but I would definitely say Seahawks are probably going to win.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine the amount of turnovers they'd have to have against Tennessee to lose that game, but big number. Pittsburgh's at Chicago. Chicago favored by 2.5 at home. The over/under is 45. Another team I don't trust is Pittsburgh. Chicago looks like they're on the rise, but that can kind of be masked by defenses that they play and offenses that they play against. So I think there is Chicago's a team that's like 1-7 against teams with a winning record or something like that, or they were. So I don't know. Pittsburgh, Chicago, they kind of interchangeable to me at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing Chicago's got going for them is they're rushing the ball 146 yards a game. So even if that's against some of the lower tier teams in the NFL, they're still going to probably be able to produce 100 yards against a better defense. And, some of them runs can just bust from a 20 to a 40-yard run in no time. Chicago's doing everything right so far. They're not making mistakes. They're not turning the ball over. They could get into the playoffs, but they could get into the playoffs and then lose by 30 in the wild card round because they don't really belong.
Yeah, I mean Chicago, like okay, Pittsburgh. The choices at quarterback are not good. Aaron Rodgers injured. I mean, it's not going to be a fun game to watch, but of course, it's going to be on the Red Zone channel. So if you're watching that, you're going to see that every once in a while. The 4 p.m. games: Jacksonville at Arizona. Arizona +3 at home. 7 is the over/under, so we have another home dog here in Arizona. What was the number 47 completions for Jacoby Brissett last week that set an NFL record?
Yeah, something like that.
That's insane.
Yeah. Just imagine if Josh Allen had receivers to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Marvin Harrison's out for this game, so whether that makes a difference or not, something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Arizona to win. They may because it's East Coast, West Coast again. I think those things have pretty big effects on things, but Arizona's pretty bad all the way around.
Jacksonville hasn't won 2 games in a row, as far as I know, so they've been up and down. So they
Well, you
won
look at
last
the
week.
49ers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying last week the Jacksonville Jaguars won, so maybe this week is their week to lose. I don't know. Cleveland is at Las Vegas, the Toilet Bowl, of course. Las Vegas is favored by 3.5 at home. The over/under is 36. I guess we're seeing Shador Sanders start for the first time in the NFL, and I think that's why Las Vegas is favored by 3.5. You have any thoughts on Cleveland at the Las Vegas Raiders?
The great debate was on about Shador earlier in the week. He's either going to go out and he's going to win, they'll be like, but he beat the Raiders. Or he's going to go out and lose, be like, you see, that's why he was the third string quarterback. So,
Right.
he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. But the coaches, they're going to put who they think gives them the best chance to win in the football game. This week they don't have a choice and they have to pick Shador. So, we'll see. Good luck to him. I'm sure Dion will be out in one of the boxes somewhere rooting him on. This is probably the team you want to start a brand new quarterback out against is a really bad one. And, maybe he can throw 47 completions 2 yards down the field and break Jacoby Brissett's record from last week. We'll see, but I would say I would expect maybe one touchdown, one interception. Browns probably win the game because that defense is still above average.
Yeah, it is probably going to be a close game, but unwatchable. Philadelphia is at Dallas. Dallas +3 at home. The over/under is 48. So Dallas a home dog at +3. Is there any reason to believe that Dallas at home, and with their defense getting healthier and looking a little better, um, is there any reason to think Dallas might beat Philadelphia?
Why does Dallas get 3 home games in a row and get the short trip on Thursday where other teams have to travel?
America's team.
Yeah, it just
I don't know.
I just noticed that they're at home this weekend and they're obviously at home on Thursday, and then the following week they always let them play on Thursday again. So they've got 3 straight home games and they still can't win. I hope they lose all 3, to be honest. They're definitely going to lose on Thanksgiving. I don't know if we'll have a podcast before that or not. Hard to say. The schedule's kind of wacky this week, but they're going to score a ton of points. They're going to give up a ton of points. Philadelphia is going to prove superior over Dallas this week.
Now, it seems obvious, but Philadelphia is not scoring a lot of points. So if they can't match Dallas's offense, the only issue for Dallas is that their offensive line's probably going to get overwhelmed and Dak Prescott's not going to have time to throw. But they have been putting up a lot of points and Philadelphia has not. So that's an interesting dynamic there. Atlanta is at New Orleans. Suddenly a different game. New Orleans favored by -1.5. The over/under is 39.5. Atlanta looks like they're starting Kirk Cousins this week. And New Orleans look like they can upset some teams. So I don't know. This game could go either way, but I'm not touching it because I only like to bet on good teams.
Yeah, I have no opinion about this game.
All right. We can move on. We have the Sunday night football game. Tampa Bay at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are favored by 6.5 at home. The over/under is 49.5. And Tampa Bay's beat up. They were looking pretty good the first, 6 or 7 weeks or maybe 8 weeks. But the last few weeks, it looks like Baker Mayfield may be injured. And they've had a lot of other injuries over the course of the season. Bucky Irving's still out. And there's no chance they win against the Rams, is there?
Probably not. They've kind of, same thing happened to San Francisco, injury plagued all over the place. You won a lot of games early on. You beat some good teams, but I think the Rams are going to show that they are the better team all around, and being at home, even though it's not home for LA, on Sunday night will be enough for them to win.
Do you think the Bucks fans travel well when you're talking about across the country there?
No, not really, because you know as well as I know, there's Bucks fans, and then there's Bucks fans who root for the Bucks when their team's doing bad and the Bucks are doing good, because they used to live not in Tampa or not in Florida like almost everybody. So
Right.
the transient fans that Tampa picks up are probably more often than some others.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe the Rams have a little bit more of an advantage here than we think. Monday Night Football is Carolina at your San Francisco Niners. The San Francisco 49ers are -7 at home, and the over/under is 48.5. This Carolina team is frisky. I know you love that word frisky, but what do you think about Carolina at San Francisco?
Early in the season, it's like, oh, that game's not going to be a problem for them whatsoever. Brock Purdy's back, Purcell's back, and the offense seemed to be doing everything right against a terrible team last week. Mistake-free football. I don't see why they don't win this game. 7.5 is a heck of a lot of points, though.
Yeah, this might. It's too big of a line, but I do expect San Francisco to win the game. It would be a shocking upset. Do we have anything else on the week slate of games, or can we move on?
I think we're ready to move on.
All right, so we'll go to croutons. I was 0-2 last week, so it was it was quite the. Is that a Halloween candy?
It is.
It was quite good for you and bad for me last week. Yeah, like I said, I went 0-2. I'm back to 1,000 croutons, back to even, and you're on the rise.
Yeah, I went 3 for 3 last week. I snuck in that one pick as we were talking through it on the pod. So I'm back to 800 on the year, so I'm still down a little bit. I got 2 this week. I'm not feeling too confident yet, but I got a feeling a spicy meatball may pop up next week.
Okay, let me go first. I have 2 as well. Just start with Chicago -2.5 I think that Pittsburgh coming into Chicago with either an injured quarterback or a bad quarterback, I think Chicago should be able to get this done.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Not
Right,
this time. Good
right.
pick. The first pick I'm going with, you said you weren't going to touch. Well,
Mm.
I'm touching this one. This is Indy +3 at KC. I think we're going to see how good Indy really is this weekend, and I don't know if they're going to win by a lot, but if they're getting points, I'll take them.
All right, fair enough. I just don't have any feel for how that game's going to go. My second pick is the Giants at Detroit, but instead of taking the points, I'm going to go the over under 50 and a half. I'm taking the over there. I think it is going to be an explosive game for Detroit. They're going to want to show off after a rough outing last week. And so I'm taking that one for 50 croutons. It's 50 and a half over Detroit and the Giants.
Yeah, so you'll see them a lot on the red zone if that's the case.
Yes.
Good luck to you on that one. I don't know if I would take it over 50, but that's on you. The second one I'm going with Jacksonville -2.5 at Arizona. I think Arizona's going to lose, and I think Jacksonville is going to win by, possibly double digits. But I would say they win by a touchdown at least. So I'll take those. I'll give up those 2.5 points and bet 50.
All right. So these are some interesting bets this week. It will be fascinating to see who comes out on top. Speaking of that sink or swim, coming out on top, I am slightly in the lead, and it appears we've both taken Baltimore.
Was that within the rules? I don't really remember.
So I was wondering about that because I didn't see your pick, and I put Baltimore in there, and then I looked at your pick, and I was like, well, what we used to do is I think the person leading got to choose the team, or the person behind got to choose the team, but I don't really care. If we want to both take Baltimore, that's fine. If you want to change
Yeah,
it,
I
that's okay
think
too.
we could both take Baltimore. And I was looking back through my list and I realized I had a mathematical error one week and I corrected it. Because I was like, because I saw it and I was like, how am I only 2 points behind if I lost last week and you didn't? And then I beat you like 4 weeks previous. So I was like, I should be behind by more than that. And then I realized I had an accounting error, but I should have corrected for that. But either way, I'm
Yeah,
going to need you to lose at one point. I'm not going to happen this week with us both picking Baltimore. So we'll try for Thursday or possibly beyond that.
yeah. And this Thursday is going to be interesting with what 3 games on Thanksgiving. 3 for the money. It would be like I said. Think I said this last week. It'd be fun for one of us to actually win one of these 3-team parlays. But we're both 0-4. What are your 3 teams for the early window?
It's crazy that we can't pick three winners.
I know.
And all we're doing is picking winners, and we can't even do that. But yet we go in the football pool and we get 12 to 13 right in a week. And
Yeah.
it's all money line picks. But if we had to pick just three, we can't do it. But anyways, I'm taking Detroit, New England, and Indy. I'm gonna go for the sure thing, if you will.
Okay.
And it's a +273, so not a big payout.
Yeah, and I think that's the reality is unless we get incredibly lucky, we're gonna have to just take the small payouts and hope that they actually pay out. I have Arizona, Dallas, and New Orleans, which it pays 881 plus 881. So I'm taking a big swing.
Yeah, and that's directly conflicting with, well, and not necessarily my Jacksonville -2.5. I mean, yeah, I guess that is directly conflicting. Yeah. So, okay. Well, one of us is
Well,
going to be disappointed Sunday.
yeah. So the because you had the higher odds last week, you got to pick the early window. So I'm looking at what 6 games to choose from in the 4 p.m. plus window. So not a lot to pick from there, and I had to pick 3 of them. So that's what I came up with. And I'd rather, I guess, if I'm going to have this limited option, I'd rather have a bigger odds and maybe make some more money.
And what are we doing for this coming week for three for the money? Because there's 4 games before Sunday, so it's like
Right.
those are probably going to have to be involved in our bets if we were betting. Or maybe for
Yeah,
this week only, we can pick any three we want to. But if we're going to pick Thursday or Friday games, we just got to kind of give the other a heads up.
we could skip Thursday unless you think that doesn't make sense, or
Well,
you
that's
know what
going
I
to be
mean.
a few games in the 4 o'clock window at that. in
Oh,
that Sunday and
yeah.
that slate of Sunday games. There's only like four. There's only like 6 games, and there's only like
Oh,
five. So it's just weird. It's a weird
all right.
week.
Well, the odds are not great that we'll just independently pick the same three teams. So we'll just pick all the windows, whatever window you want.
Yeah,
And he doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a window at all. Just pick three games. All right, that's three for the money. Again, let's try to win one of these.
yeah.
I
We
have
can
a
still
Sith.
do the whoever takes the bigger odds still will get to pick the week after.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, I have a Sith surprise for you. The so I want to know who the actual MVP is. I'm not talking about who's leading in the odds for MVP. I'm saying like if you could pick one person, it could be a coach, it could be a player, defense, offense, it could be a running back, it could be anything. If you had to pick one person who's making the most impact for their team in a positive way, which player or coach or whatever would you pick?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, I know. I know. I
I
put you on the
mean,
spot here.
I would probably have to
Well,
go with Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, that's not a bad one at all right there. Um, the people that are leading that are just perennial MVP favorites, Josh Allen. You can't at this point say he's the MVP, and same with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So I was gonna say Mike Vrabel. If I get to pick a coach turning that team around really quickly after pretty bad last year, I think he's going to be coach of the year, and they're going to probably win that division.
Did he win Coach of the Year in Tennessee?
I think so. Yeah,
How many coaches won Coach of the Year for two different teams?
that is a great question.
Andy Reid, possibly.
Yeah, he
He'd be
might
the
have.
only one that I could possibly. I don't know if he won Coach of the Year ever in case.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. We
No.
could ask AI that question. All
Yeah,
right.
I know it's not Pete Carroll.
No, he's not gonna get that done. At least not this year.
No,
All right. That's all I have. Do you have anything else for us?
not really. I mean, we're slimming down our episodes. Evidently, maybe we need more to talk about. Talking about last week's games, I think is kind of in the past, anyways. And if you ever wanted to actually hear about last week's games, you probably already heard it by now. So if fans want to hear that, reach out to us. You don't know where to find us, and it doesn't matter. Other other than that, I think we're done for the day.
No, you can find us. You can comment on our videos, and we'll answer. I'll answer at least. So for the mayor myself, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you in week 13. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.